Welcome back to the VMA3D tutorials. This is continuing for our first one, and we just wanted to go over a few more items. We'll do this for each one, just take a few at a time, to give you some more ideas on how to use our editor. Now you remember that we just dragged these icons from the actions list. Let's go over a few options that you have in each one of these. Now if we go back to royalty free, let's drag a different picture, and you'll see that that's added into the scene now. And you'll see a few things under here that we'll go over now. The first thing you'll see is a little button. If a picture is not what you want and you just want a solid color, click this and then select a color that you want, click OK, and you'll notice that the object now has just that solid color. Below that you'll see cut, flat plane, cut. Now this is how you bring it into the scene. This is the actual object, the type, and this is how you'll take it out of the scene. So for example, if we come here, cut means it just appears. You can select fade, where it'll fade in. You can have it where it'll slide down and into the scene. Each one does a different effect. And you have the same thing for how it's going to go out of the scene. Now you notice that there's numbers underneath these. These are seconds. You can have 0.5 for half a second, or you can have 10 for 10 seconds. It's up to you. But each one will select one. Let's say we'll just leave it at slide down, and it defaults to 1 second that it takes to come in. If we want to change that to 3, you'll see that it takes a little longer to come down. Same thing for the out. Now flat plane is the default, but you can have it where it's in front of the scene completely. Let's change this back to cut. You can have it where it's in back of the scene. You can use a thick plane. Now you'll notice before it was just a flat plane. Now it's a little thicker. You might want that. And these are different types. If you want it to be a cube, you can see it's now a cube, a sphere, all different kinds. You even have one with a picture frame. Got some fancy ones down here like, let's say explode in. And all the pieces will come in and make a solid object again. We'll just stick with a flat plane for now. Those explain this. The 0 means that it's going to stay there forever. So it's going to take that long to fade in, or to come into the scene. But 0 means it's going to stay there forever. If you want it to, we can change this to anything over that. Say we want it to stay for 3 seconds. Stays for 3 seconds, then cuts out. Now cut's going to ignore this. It's always going to come right in immediately. So let's have that slide in. Stays there for 3 seconds, and then it's going to cut out. Now the easing style, this gives you different options of how it's going to come into the scene. Bounce is real cool. We can have it bounce, stay there for 3 seconds, and then go away. Cut always goes away no matter what the number is. But for now, we're just going to leave it at 0. That way it stays there forever. Now the mesh type. Mesh type usually is going to stay at basic, but if you add lights to the scene, then you can give different effects. And that's what we'll do right now. We'll add a light to it. And first we'll go to the floor. You see the floor is basic. If we change it to Fong or Lambert, let's change it to Fong. Now you'll notice that we have a spotlight because that's the default that we brought in as spotlight. You see that it has drop shadows. And Fong means it's going to reflect the light. Lambert means that it'll still use the light, but you won't see the reflection. Specular color tells it the reflection that you see, that white could be pink or purple, green, whatever you want it to be. Shininess, basically how big the sphere will be. And bump scale, you can give it a little depth to the image by changing it from the default of 0. Now on the floor we have a Y position. We normally drop it down a little bit below 0, which is normally where some of these objects come in as a standard. So we drop it down a little bit just by editing that. You can change the depth of it. The opacity, you have from 0 to 1. If you put 0, you don't see it at all. Say 0.5, it'll be a little transparent. And restitution and friction, these are used with physics. We'll go into physics in a later tutorial, but just to know that's what they are. And you notice when I mouse over these, a description appears below it or above it that gives a little bit of detail about what that particular item is. And again, you can have just a solid color floor, and if you want a different texture, you do the same thing we did with a picture. Just drag an image up. Now, if we come back and change the mesh in here, you see now it's using the light and it has that reflection that we spoke about earlier. And we have different types that you can use: reflection, refraction. Fresnel, this is kind of like a bubble where you have the reflection of the scene, but clear. These some we spoke of before. Position, we've got the default of coming in at 0, 100, 0. This is X, Y, Z. So it's on 0. X, we've got it up a little higher. Y is 0. Rotation is default of 0, 0, 0. Scale, default of 1, 1, 1. But you can change those numbers whatever you want. Now you remember we told you textures can be used on any of these, but sometimes you might want to have it as a default, even on these kind of textures, not just sliders. We'll just change this to cut right now for the tutorial. And you'll notice that there's animate. When you're using one of these textures, you can actually animate the texture, make it move by changing this number. And now you see that the texture is moving along that object. And because it's seamless, you don't see a seam line in between the texture as it's moving. Repeat size tells it how many times to repeat the texture on that particular object. And width and height tells how big it is. We default to a lot of video sizes, 640 by 360. You can change those to any number you want. Say if you have an image that's taller instead of wider, if it's portrait instead of horizontal. You can change the height to be higher than the width. Now let's go over a move. Move will show you the objects in the scene that can be moved. You can move objects, you move lights. And if you go by the default, it's going to grab the coordinates, which is 0 by 100. If we change this to 100, and we can test it in the scene, you'll see that the object actually moves to that new position. Now if we look right below the scene, it shows you a few things here. Stage size, this shows you what this actually is in the 3D scene at the time, the size. We have an edit mode. You can click the button for edit. Little box opens up. And when you mouse over the particular object, you'll see the hand of the cursor changes. And we can click on that and we can move that around wherever we want. And we'll click save, and that will save that. Now this is stop and play of the scene. If you have a long action list, you might want to stop it and restart. So you just hit the stop button and then you hit play, and it will play through the entire scene for you. By clicking the individual items in the list, it's just going to affect that one particular item or action. Volume, this is the overall volume, but you can change all the volume of each individual one if you want. Recording options, right now we just have grab webcam. We will be adding more here where you can actually record videos. Width and height, this lets you play with what the default's going to be when your final is done. This little button here lets you go into full screen so you can see the entire scene in 3D at full screen. And you click to go back. Now when you hit stop and you hit play, there's our little object. We're moving it. Remember, and we've got the object that we added, floor texture, light, so we get the shadows and we get the spotlight effect, and move, which moved the object from one side to the other. Now let's go over a few of these down here. Action we went over already. This shows you different things that you can add in. You can add a skybox, you can add a web page, you can actually have it speak to you, you can add audio so it'll play music or sound effects. Just go over each one and try the different ones. It'll give you a little explanation about what they are here. And we will have documentation that explains it in more detail. Now scenes is the next one in the list, and this lets you load and save scenes. Once you play around and you've got a scene that you like, you want to hit save scene. Now it gives you a default ID, and then you just type in a title that you want. Say we'll type test and hit save scene. Now when we go to load scene, it's going to add it back to our projects, and you can click it and it'll reload that particular one, or load a different one if you've done so. New scene, what this will do is we'll clear out anything that you have in your current action list and start from fresh. Load template, we have a number of templates that you can load, which are just scenes that we've saved for you, that we share with you, that you can play with. Now you load a template, you can look how we did particular things, what settings we had and the different objects, And once a template is loaded, make sure that you save it as a scene so it'll save into your members account. Content, this is where you can display images, videos, audio, 3D objects, 3D particles, web pages that you've uploaded. Upload, like we said, this is where you can upload videos, 3D models, images, music, web pages. You want everything that you're going to be using in a WebGL format in this particular part on our servers for speed and security. Just hit upload, it brings up a window, you select the files that you want, and once you've done so, it will upload those particular objects. If it's an image, then you can go back to content, images, under my images. It'll always be under my images, my videos, my objects. We've added an option called collage. Now, collage is where you can pick a picture. This will show you images that you've uploaded. Of course, you have to upload an image first. And the good people at photo.to, that's their website, have supplied these number of templates that you can pick, and it will add them into the picture itself. So if we just had that picture, we select which template we want, it'll process the collage image, and there we go. It took the picture that we had and put it into a template and saved it into the My Images folder. Now, of course, you already have to have uploaded some images into the My Image folder to start with. But once you have that, then you can pick through those and then use one of these in your scene as well. Help, this is where the videos are, this is where documentation will be, etc. My account, this is information about your particular account. It will show your name, your email, your password, your username that you can change if you'd like. About tells you a little bit about who created this, and we have a thank you page where we thank all the users out there, developers that have created parts that we're using in Virtual Media Architect as well. Home takes you to our home page. Gallery takes you to our player page where you can look at other scenes that were created by other users. And of course, logout. Well, that's our second tutorial. We hope this explains a little bit more about what you can do. And if you have any questions, just be sure to hit contact us and send us an email, and if we can answer your question, we definitely will.